time for another Coffee with Kilroy. So grab your beverage of choice. I'm having coffee black. I think this is French roast, brewed by Keurig, that my wife bought me for our Christmas last year, and is the best thing for someone who is working remotely, which I am, and again, that's just my opinion. And what I have here today is a special treat. This is Avalon Hill catalog. I'm not sure the year on this one, but this one is unique in that, in two respects. Number one, it's the only one I've found in going through my games that is, full color in this small print. I did an earlier video on a bigger catalog that was a combination of Avalon Hill and I think it might have had some Victory Point games in it. I have to go back and look at that. But it was a kind of a big format catalog. It wasn't on glossy paper, and it wasn't in this kind of a little book format. So I don't know how often they did this, or if this is the only one they did. Most of their catalogs are the black and white format that you can go back and look at my videos and see how they do that. And they would come with a little slip, an order slip. And so basically it was almost like just a little bit of information to go along with the order slip on the catalog. But this is a full color catalog from Avalon Hill. And the second, especially, this is like my last one. I went through all my games and pulled out ones that were not duplicates, and have kind of gone over those through these little coffees with Kilroy. But this is my last one I can find. I might go through again and see if I can find another one, but I think I've got all the ones that I kept. Unfortunately, I did not keep all of them. I think I pulled them out and pushed them aside, kind of like the flyers you see in a Sunday paper, and didn't keep them for posterity. And I didn't know I was going to be doing these little vignettes for you guys. But so sit back, have some coffee or whatever beverage that you enjoy, and go over this. Sit down with me as I go, kind of page through this and talk about these walk down memory lane. So Avalon Hill, fully, glossy little booklet here, and this is really Avalon Hill getting into its marketing phase. I mean, serious fun, and it's full color, and they're starting off with their leisure time and family games. So they're not hitting you right with the war games, which is kind of their mainstay. They're hitting you with their family and leisure games, and some good ones. Acquire's an excellent game. I think that's a Sid Jackson design, and kind of dry. I brought that up to my family a few months ago, and they were like, ugh. They didn't enjoy it, but I like it. It's because it's a solid game and well ahead of its time. I mean, it falls into the Euro game of today, but I think that design, that goes back to the 70s, and so Sid was very much ahead of the curve on some of his designs. And then Feudal, have that game. It's kind of like a different version of chess. It had these little boards with where you had pegs on the pieces, and you had hold boards, and you move it around, and there was some terrain on there. So it was getting a little bit more detailed than chess. Not as abstract, but still somewhat of an abstract game. But as you can see here, they're really kind of getting into their family and leisure games here, which I didn't really get into a lot of these. Wizards Quest, I think I played that once. Rail Baron, I think I played that once. Don't own those. I might have no, I don't think I have Rail Baron. I have a different rail game, one of the 18XX type series, or those games from them. Assassin, I always thought that was an interesting cover there. Don't know quite what they were going for there, or who was the inspiration for that cover, but there you have it. Stellar Conquest, Outdoor Survival. There was a lot of those copies floating around, and I think there might still be. Don't really know what the story is on that, on why that got so much attention, but I think I do remember hearing or reading somewhere about some of the background of that, but never really played that. Could get a hold of it. I saw it at a lot of thrift stores and elsewhere over time. Now we get into the Avalon Hill sports and statistical replay games. And as I think I might have mentioned before, I got into gaming. The first games I played, of course, were, like the kid games and stuff and card games. And then I got into playing Clue, like playing that with my sister, and played some Risk. Then got into chess in grade school. But I really, got into some heavier gaming when I got into sports games. I love sports games and played a lot of baseball with my brother, and he and I both we've developed a baseball game together. I developed a baseball game on my own, and then I found Status Pro and went, oh, none of these, my designs were not worthy. And but I also played some of the Status Pro. Stratomatic. I found Stratomatic and threw all these other sides. But then the Status Pro games I found pretty good as well. Not so much their baseball as like their Status Pro football and basketball. Played quite a bit of those. But from a baseball standpoint, Stratomatic was really my go-to there. Then these other sports games, Win, Place, and Show, excellent game, horse racing game where you actually own the horses and you bet on the horses, and you're trying, you win the game by making the most money, and you can make money by, picking good horses and then racing them well in the game, but you can also bet on horses, and you don't have to bet on your own horse. Imagine what that means. And but good game, and actually kind of good party game. And actually, I think back in the day, people used it as a fundraiser and kind of at social events and stuff like that. It was a pretty good design. And there was a lot of historical treatment of that in All-Star Replays, which All-Star Replay was the companion to the General, which the General was focused on war games and Avalon Hill war games, and All-Star Replay focused on sports and other type games from Avalon Hill. But there was all kinds of historical horses and Triple Crown winners, and so you can go recreate races, and it was just kind of neat getting into the whole history of horse racing with that game. And then Title Bout kind of did the same thing for boxing. There was a lot of historical boxers that came in the box, but then the All-Star Replays issued other boxers, but also came up with some simplified rules, and also had a way that you can make boxers, so you can kind of go. This came out, of course, pre like Mike Tyson days, and so you can go. There was rules that you can figure out how to make, current boxers, and then try them up against some of the ones from all time. So that was kind of fun, and really liked Title Bout. There's been a lot of horse racing games that have come out, in the kind of the Euro game design since Win, Place, and Show, but not a ton of boxing games. There's a few out there, but not. It doesn't have the treatment as, of course, baseball, football, basketball, or even hockey, or horse racing for that matter, or even race car racing. I mean, there's a lot of car racing games now, but boxing kind of not a ton out there. Then we get into fantasy role playing. Of course, I've mentioned in the past, James Bond was, I think, one of Victory Games' bigger role playing games, and I actually played that with a friend in high school. Magic Realm, really, that's a board game. It's really not a role-playing game. I guess it's kind of a role-playing board game. You kind of get into the feel of the character on the board, but it's not a true role-playing game. It's actually a board game, and actually brokered a deal between two friends in, was it junior high or high school? One owned Titan, and the other one owned Magic Realm, and neither one really liked their version, so I brokered a trade between them, and I still don't think they end up liking their choices, but I end up acquiring a Titan later on, the reprinted version, much later on, and good game, but takes forever to play. Now we're getting into the true role-playing, fantasy role-playing here with Runequest, and of course there's a lot of expansions and updates to that, because that is what role-playing games do, is get you hooked on a system and then give you you got to get the more content, you got to get the campaign settings and the specific classes or specific monsters or whatever you have on. You got to get all the extra content, and that's what role-playing games do. Now we get into strategic and tactical games, introductory and classic, and some of these truly are classics. Africa Core, Tactics 2, the one that maybe arguably started it all. Victory at Sea, War at Sea. I acquired War at Sea 5-6 years ago real good copy, unpunched. Of course, I punched it because I'm going to play it. I played it and then played it with my son, a few months ago. Still like that game. I'd like to get a copy of Victory at Sea, Victory in the Pacific, and I know that's out there a lot, but I'd like to get a real good copy of that and don't want to pay an arm or a leg, and it kind of varies on what's, the quality and the price on that from time to time, but I still like to pick that up. And they're reprinting this. I can't remember what company's doing that, but I think there's a company that reprints both of them together, and then I think Compass might be doing one of these as well. So this is getting some love again in that space, and plus there's been other games that kind of use its system as its core. Compass's game Sovereign of the Seas, which is Napoleonic period, uses that core system as well. And I believe that Compass Games is working on a World War I version that kind of uses this as a core system as well. I think that's the Gilbert Collins game. Then we go We the People, Mark Herman's classic that arguably started off the whole card-driven genre of games, and we'd be here all day if I start going through the litany of games that owe their respects to We the People. I mean, Washington's War, of course, more directly because that was a kind of a reboot of that, but Paths of Glory and all the different card-driven games that have point-to-point type maps, kind of owe their deference to that. Up front, card squad leader game, basically, or small unit tactical game done with cards. Field of Fire kind of plays in that space, but there's also a new one. Is it Point Blank? I'm not sure, but Lock and Load's coming up with that. I've been watching some of the videos from the Gimpy Gamer that's talking a little bit about that card game. I think that's going to fit into this up front space there. Then B17, oh my God, what a classic. A lot of games owe their fealty to that title. Played a lot of hours of that, and there's a lot of games that are on the market and are still coming out that that are based on that core system, and which I kind of call a charty game. There's not a ton of decisions. You're mainly kind of going on missions, and you keep rolling on several different charts, and it'll lead you, whatever you roll on one might lead you to another chart, and you just keep making these different die rolls and making some decisions based on that. And in this case, you're a crew of a B-17 bomber doing bombing missions over Germany during World War II, but this has been translated into submarine warfare, into other air warfare, into flip sides of air warfare. I mean, you play the Germans. It's being translated, I think, into tank warfare for Compass. Again, there's a lot of games that kind of owe their existence to that being out there. So excellent game. Spent a lot of time with that. Again, not a ton of decisions. More of a charty game, but still good nonetheless. Now we get in the American History Series. These are some classics here, or the Smithsonian Institute American History Series, and I've got this Midway here. Excellent game. It's probably best refereed. It's one of those that kind of has a double blind system because you're always, all the Pacific games you're kind of searching, and that's a big aspect of the game, is not knowing where the other side's at or where they're coming from, and Midway kind of does some of that as well, and I believe Guadalcanal does that as well. Then we get strategic and tactical games, intermediate complexity, and they have War and Peace here. I thought they had War and Peace listed higher. They have it listed, I think, as a 5 here. I think they had it listed higher complexity in older catalogs. I might have to go back and take a look at that, but that is a classic. That's been rebooted a couple of times to update the components and the rules, and I think the most recent ones, I think, was just a fix of the last one that was done. But I think the general core game is mostly the same, but I'm most familiar with this one as one of my earliest, probably one of my first Napoleonic games, definitely my first strategic, and I use kind of quotes for strategic because this is really, I think, a better campaign game. Then you have the classic Wooden Ship and Iron Men, arguably one of the best Age of Sail type games. Siege of Jerusalem, I think this is getting a reboot. I don't know if that's Compass doing that. I think they're doing a straight reboot on that. But that was a classic game. And then Multiman Publishing is doing Storm over Jerusalem, I believe, which I think will be more like in the Storm series that kind of owes its history to Storm over Arnhem type system. But I think it's still the same topic. So there's going to be a couple of Jerusalem Kings coming out, but I think one of them is going to be just a straight reboot of that one. 1776, classic American Revolutionary War strategic level. Back in the time, that was one of the only things out there at the strategic level. But now there's a lot of stuff in that space. Coin versions of it. Of course, Washington's War. I think Gilbert Collins actually has one coming out. But there's a lot in this space now. But that still was a good game in its day, and added some novel things. It had like the strategy or the tactics cards that you pick different tactics, whether you're doing a retreat or a flank or whatever, and comparing it to what the other person picked, and that's going to do a modifier to the combat. That was kind of cool. Patton's Best was a solo tank game, and there's, again, a lot of solo tank games out there now. DVG, I think, has several in that space, and then Compass, I think, is actually porting over one of the Charty B-17 type stuff over to a tank game. But you also have a tank, why can't I think of the name of it now? The GMT just came out with a Tank Duel, I believe. No, not Tank Duel. It'll come to me. But, there's some more in this space now. But at the time, this was one of the first, solo games that was just from the perspective of a tank commander. Hitler's War, strategic level World War II in Europe. That had some, was kind of a simplified version of Third Reich. It really had nothing to do with Third Reich, but it just was, I thought it was a little bit more accessible system. And it drew some aspects, I think, from like Axis and Allies, like development. You can develop different weapons or different weapon systems, like subs and aircraft, but you can also build the bomb. What if he got the bomb? So you can build the bomb there. Great Campaign series, or Great Campaigns Civil War series. Excellent games here. And I have I just picked up, the Multiman Publishing is picking this back up, and I just picked up the combined version of Roads to Gettysburg, which is much more deluxe than this version. It has a lot more stuff in it. I've got Stonewall Jackson's Way, and don't have that one, Here Come the Rebels, but probably the definitive campaign, great campaigns of the American Civil War, probably one of the better campaign series on the Civil War. Then you have your alphabetical game list here that this is kind of reminiscent of those old catalogs, old black and white catalogs. They got a little bit of black and white with a little bit of a game listing here. And you got the price list. And it's interesting. It talks about game category, number of players, complexity rating. Notice not all these have complexity ratings. That's interesting. Playing time and level. Look at that. That's kind of cool. So that's a nice little chart there to figure out. And I just did a deep dive not too long ago about scales, war game scales, and broke it down into going up from 2 all the way up to 5. And this one looks like it's just doing the 3-level scale of operational, tactical, or strategic. So that's kind of interesting there. Looking at that chart, might have to go back and compare that to my notes. Richthofen's War, classic World War I fighting game, aerial fighting game. And you got the Raid on St. Nazarene, Thunder Casino. All these are classics. Luftwaffe owned that back in the day. Never really kind of got into it, traded it away, I think, for some SPI games, and but never picked it back up again. So that might be something that, my understanding is was a relatively novel design at that point in wargaming history, and I just never went back to that. I played Knights in the Air once, Of course, you have the classic Panzer Blitz, which was one of the first war games I played, and then I've got Panzer Leader, and I have a whole video on that. Air Force and Dauntless, I've got videos that talk about general air combat games, World War II air combat games, talk about those, but I have both of those. Advanced strategic and tactical games, Third Reich, have that. Longest Day, played that. That's probably the only monster game that I've actually played quite a bit of, and that was way back in the day. Squad Leader, have that, which of course that spawned Advanced Squad Leader, and then of course you have Advanced Third Reich. Flat Top, excellent game. Again, another one of those kind of better probably played double blind, but have that game. Excellent. MBT and IDF. These games are, I mean, Battle Tank, that's been rebooted by, I think GMT reboots that one. And that's actually was not, I don't believe that was originally a Avalon Hill game. I think that might have, that actually I think comes from the Yaquinto series of Panzer and 88 and those games, I believe. And then we get into multiplayer games. So History of the World, which this has spawned a whole genre of type of games that kind of get into the Britannia games as well, where you're doing different civilizations or different groups or factions that come in over on a historical timeline, come into the game, and you're playing multiple different factions over that period of time, and some of them phase in and phase out. Of course, this has been translated to the Euro or fantasy world with Small World, which is a well done game there, which was based on Vinci, which Vinci, I think, owed some stuff to this, and Britannia and all that whole kind of stuff there. Diplomacy, I think on the back of the box used to say Henry Kissinger's favorite game, and I don't think Henry Kissinger had a lot of friends if he played a lot of diplomacy. Kingmaker, War of the Roses, I played a lot of that back in the day, and yeah, that one was almost like diplomacy to me, because that one got stabbed in the back numerous times. Had it all set up, and then somebody switched alliances, and it put a dagger in my heart. There's that Titan game. That's the one I brokered, but then I've got the newer version of that. Civilization, I still think this is a great design, and of course this spawned the computer game, which then again spawned some board games, which I think also have influenced other computer games, and so this is a great classic there, and pulled that out about a year ago and played that with the family, and still just amazed at the mechanics and how simple it is. I mean, it's not a simple game in that it doesn't play fast. This takes a long time, and the more players you have, it's going to take a really long time. But the mechanics are very streamlined, and the way that it combines like the old games of Pit along with kind of and introducing the whole technology tree, which I don't know if anybody had one in a board game before this, but this to me is really one of the first instances of a very well-developed technology tree, which of course all Civ games have now, whether they're space games or what have you, but they all have to have a technology tree. And there's other games that are just playing a technology tree, so that's kind of interesting. And you got the Advanced Civilization there. Merchant of Venice, which is considered one of the great space pickup and deliver games. Another, I think, heavy meaning it's going to be a long game to play. Empire in Arms, which was kind of a holy grail for me for a while, and I finally got that. Don't know if I'm ever going to get that to the table, but I got that. Then there's that Britannia, which I was telling you about, which is this whole notion of, this one you're playing just the development of Britannia over a period of time, and there's the different tribes or factions or whatever that come into play, between the Celts or the Romans or whoever, coming into play over time, and then they'll kind of phase out, and then a new faction will come in, and you play amalgamation of different factions over time. 1830, that's the rail game that I have, is 1830. And then here, Experience ASL, the ultimate in realism. We can have a whole debate about that. Does complexity equal realism? I mean, that's a whole, there's a lot of discussion over that. And I think some games, mask, think that by having more complexity adds to more realism. I'm not going to get into that debate, but I think there's a feeling of that. And of course, this gets highly detailed and, tries to simulate realism. And, I've played some Advanced Squad Leader. I've actually played probably more Squad Leader. And, I don't know. I've played a lot of the small unit tactical systems, the ones that are like squad level, or around the squad level type focus. And I think these are good, and I don't know. I get kind of bogged down in the complexity on some of these, and I'm always looking for a game that captures what I kind of want to play or what I want to simulate without having all the complexity. But I'm not gonna, die on that mountain, because there's a lot of backers of ASL that say it is the ultimate in realism. It is the best game that does all that, and I'm not going to say they're right, but I'm also not going to say they're wrong. So how about that? How about that for just weaseling out of that debate? Your mileage may vary. Try it out, but there's a lot of stuff out there. I actually have a whole article on the development of small unit tactical games and wargaming. So, and it kind of started out with miniatures actually, but that's on Board Game Geek under NAP 16. Might want to go check that out if you want to get into kind of a litany of all the games that have developed over time, but kind of see where they fall, when they popped up. I find that kind of interesting, but then again, I'm a geek. And some of these series here, this is all developing of the Advanced Squad Leader stuff. Which now is taken over by Multi-Man Publishing, the one that keeps that alive and well. Then you've got insightful, accurate, challenging military simulations. This is Victory Games across 5 Aprils. Peloponnesian War, this was Mark Herman design, which is just re-released by GMT. And this one's interesting in that you flip sides. So you'll be playing the Spartans, and then based on how you're doing, if you're doing really well, then it's going to flip over and you're going to play the Athenians, and then you do well with them, you flip up. And so very interesting system. I mean, it's designed to be solo, but they actually have a multiplayer aspect, I think, to it now. I think that was added in the re-release, I think, maybe. And but very unique system. That Mark Herman, he's got something going on up here. Oh, this is the game I got this out of Maharaja, which is kind of one of those more Britannia type games that again, the different factions over a historical period. Then Victory Games Military Simulations or Civil War have that, and I think that one's getting redone too. Again, that might be one of those Compass games where they just do a straight reboot of it. But that's being done. Pacific War, this is just coming out. How timely. This is just coming out. Another Mark Herman design that GMT's just, I think it's GMT, that's just releasing this. Ambush, the classic solo World War II game that everybody would like to see republished, but I don't think the designer wants to put the time or effort into figuring out all the different paragraph numbers in that, which I don't blame them. Carrier, I think that one might be being rebooted with a different title. I think that one. I'm not sure. I got to check on that. Lee versus Grant, Second Fleet. All right, so this is the Fleet series. Now this is relatively complex. What do they have the complexity on this? They have it at 6, this at 7, this at 7. So they have 5th at 7, 3rd at 7, 2nd and 7th Fleet at 5s. I'd put that up higher. I mean, the basic rules themselves, maybe they are like a 5 or 6. I'd probably put them at a 6, but then if you add in a lot of the optional rules, you're getting to a 9 or 10 with some of these, with all the optional rules. But you don't have to put all the optional rules in. But I don't know. I find those a little bit more daunting, especially the rulebook's huge. And I got a whole video on that. So, because I just acquired that like a year or so ago and did a kind of re-unboxing of that. So take a look at that. But I don't know. 5 doesn't seem right to me compared to some of these other games that are out there. Plus, there's a little bit of bias on, you know, the games in the 70s and 80s. I don't know. Some of they didn't have the benefit of some of the more streamlined mechanics that we have nowadays. That, you know, some of these have been ported over from the development of Euro games, and there's just I think sometimes there's a little bit more novel or unique or creative ways to, you know, deal with some of these simulations, as opposed to just the standard old, you know, CRT. Of course, in Avalon Hill for years, and some of the earlier games, I used I think the same CRT for everything, you know, whether it was, you know, World War II or Civil War or what have you, or Napoleonic. But so how novel is that? But anyway, so I find these a little bit denser at times, going back and going through the rules of that period and how they were trying to sim things. But again, you know, your mileage may vary. Maybe this is a 5 to you. I just find this a little bit more complex, even at the basic level, but definitely once you add in the advanced rules, I think it gets more complex. Software simulations, of course, this was always a big thing, and those catalogs as well. There was some talk, I don't know if it was Dunnigan or somebody in one of their books was saying that, you know, well, board war games are going to be obsolete because they're going to be taken over by computer games. Well, you know, heck, there's more computer games now with apps that are, you know, on your phone and iPads and computers and what have you. And guess what? I think we have more board games now than we've ever had before. And we got better board games, and we have better quality games, and we got great publishers, and we've got small publishers that are still, you know, plugging along in this space. So I think the reports of board war games demise have been greatly exaggerated, especially due to, you know, software simulations. Because there's just something about the tactile feel of the board and the pieces, and you know, playing head to head or even playing solitaire, just having the board out there as opposed to you know, just playing over on a software. Plus, I mean, you've got, you know, tabletop simulators and Vassal and all that other stuff that, you know, is kind of like a software simulation. I mean, it's a platform to play against an opponent online, and that hasn't destroyed board war games. People are still buying the board war games. But again, I might be wrong on that too. Maybe Dunnigan's going to be right after all. Accessories here's a general magazine, all this kind of good stuff. You get in t-shirts and what have you, and that's it. That is the Avalon Hill Game Company catalog. I don't have a year on this. Do I see a copyright statement anywhere? I probably go back and look at my Maharaja game and see what the date on that was, which I didn't even see that advertised in here, but that's where I pulled this out of. But again, maybe somebody shoved this in there when I wasn't looking. But that is the Avalon Hill. Think Avalon Hill, you know, small think, big Avalon Hill. Hey, enjoy your coffee, enjoy your day. I've enjoyed spending some time with you, and as always, thank you for spending some time with me. Thanks for watching.